Hello, lovelies, and welcome back to another awesome episode of the Center Stage Beauty Podcast. I'm so excited to drop this episode during my favorite season of fall. Pumpkin chai lattes, pumpkin picking, Halloween. I just love it all. I recently started Kelly's Dreamland, which is a YouTube vlog that showcases my family, lifestyle, and quirky side to my viewers. Kelly's Dreamland's YouTube page also inspired a short called Dreamland, which debuted 4 months ago. I've started a stationery shop on Etsy and will be listing Halloween-specific stickers on the site as my first product. By the time you view and hear this episode, the shop will be fully running. You can get this shop and Kelly's Dreamland link in the description below. On today's episode, I will be discussing the dark side of entertainment. To be specific, I want to have a conversation on the exploitation of children, sexual abuse, assault, and sex trafficking. The reason why I'm highlighting this specific topic is because of the press coverage, and also too, I'm a woman of many facets of the entertainment space. It's important for my viewers and listeners to be informed of my perspective. This episode is an informative piece so they can better defend and prepare themselves during any ill-fitting situation wherever they are in their lives. Since the beginning of this year, there has been mumblings of Sean Puffy Combs, aka Diddy, being accused of the most heinous acts. To be honest, the last few years, Hollywood has been the spotlight of alleged sexual abuse and assault, and also sex trafficking, with Russell Simmons, R. Kelly, Sean Combs, Mike Jeffries, and Jeffrey Epstein topping the list and gaining notoriety for these awful acts. Russell Simmons has been living in Bali since 2018. He has been accused of sexually assaulting several women. Alleged rumors have speculated that he lives abroad to evade proper legal repercussions. Currently, Russell Simmons owes 3 women $3 million after failing to pay them previously agreed upon settlements according to court records. 3 confessions of judgment were filed Wednesday in New York County Supreme Court on behalf of journalists Lyle Abrams and Sherry Abernathy and Wendy Carolina Franco. The documents were part of a confidential settlement agreement the woman entered into with the music mogul in November of 2023. Simmons agreed to pay each woman substantial sums for claimants' alleged personal physical injuries and sickness by October 1st. He has failed to pay, according to Variety magazine. In November 2017, Simmons stepped down from his roles in the label Def Jam Records, his yoga lifestyle brand, CNN Money, and other media properties. Later in this podcast episode, I will further discuss steps to avoid being a victim and necessary steps to take to triumph and overcome if you or someone was or currently in. But before we get to that, I would like to discuss 2 more high-profile individuals. Grammy Award-winning R&B singer R. Kelly was charged in 2022 by jurors. He was convicted of 3 charges of producing child sexual abuse images and 3 charges of enticement of minors for sex. Kelly is currently serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison for child sex crimes, which will be served concurrently with a 30-year sentence for racketeering and sex trafficking in New York. Great communication between you and your children is the most important way to keep them safe from sexual abuse. A trusting and loving relationship creates a bond in which children are not afraid to confide in their parents. This can be challenging for working parents and parents of adolescents, but it is worth every step. Combs had been served with 12 civil lawsuits for physical assault, rape, and more. The indictment and many of the lawsuits name Diddy's numerous business ventures. Allegedly, his businesses are complicit in financing and enabling the rapper's abuse inside and outside of the recording studio. The lawsuits also detail how Combs allegedly used his position of power in the entertainment industry to lure, coerce, and silence those around him. Currently, Diddy remains in a Brooklyn jail while awaiting a May 5, 2025 trial on federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. Sean has pleaded not guilty on all charges and has been denied bail twice thus far. This comes months after 2 of his homes were raided this year. The raids come as the producer faces a mounting list of civil lawsuits that allege abuse and sexual assault by multiple victims spanning over 30 years. Combs was arrested Monday, September 16th, and his grand jury indictment unsealed the next day. Combs has denied all of the allegations. A new predator gained notoriety as of this week. FBI launched a probe into former Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries last year after a BBC investigation found several men who accused him and Matt Smith of sexually abusing them at events they hosted in their New York residences and hotels around the world. During a 10-minute court hearing on Friday in Long Island, New York, Judge Stephen Tisoni told Mr. Jeffries he would be under house arrest, adding that he was only allowed to leave his homes in New York and Florida for medical appointments and visits from his lawyers or religious events. Mike Jeffries posted a $10 million bond using his house on Fisher Island in New York as collateral. Prosecutors say Mr. Jeffries and his partner preyed on dozens of vulnerable young men seeking careers in fashion and modeling and exploited them for their own sexual pleasure between 2008 and 2050. The indictment lists 15 victims who are not named. The 3 men could face up to life in prison if convicted of sex trafficking and up to 20 years in prison if convicted of interstate prostitution. Jeffrey Epstein was found dead on August 10, 2019, in a Manhattan jail where he was awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. His death was ruled a suicide. Epstein was a well-connected financier and convicted sex offender and a sex trafficker. Epstein's body was found hanged at the Metropolitan Correction Center, the New York Times reported. At his time of death, he was awaiting trial and facing the possibility of 45 years in federal prison. There is no such thing as a stereotypical victim or rapist. Anyone can be the target of sexual assault regardless of age, gender, race, ethnicity, sexual orientation, sexual history, or social class. Nearly all victims of sexual assault knew the person who raped them or assaulted them. Often a situation starts off innocent and fun, but can then quickly escalate out of control. What is sexual harassment? Under federal law, it is unlawful to harass a person because of that person's sex. Sexual harassment is defined by its impact, not its intent. The conduct must be unwelcome to be considered sexual harassment. It can either include behaviors such as unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, verbal or physical harassment of a sexual nature, inappropriate statements, lewd gestures, luring behavior, sexually explicit jokes, emails, or texts, offensive objects or images. Here are some ways to derail and stop an offender. Avoid hazardous situations. Sexual assault can occur in any situation and is never your fault regardless of the circumstances. However, by taking such steps as traveling accompanied and avoiding alcohol and drugs, you can substantially reduce your risk from being victimized. Communicate your limits clearly. If someone starts to offend you or cross a line that you have set for yourself, tell them firmly and early. Polite approaches may be misunderstood or ignored. If the person does not respect your wishes, remove yourself from the situation immediately. Miscommunication can be explained later. Do not give someone the chance to violate your wishes or boundaries. This can often contribute to the guilt felt following unwanted sexual advances, but it does not make it your fault. Be assertive. Often, passivity can be interpreted as permission. It is not. Be direct and firm with someone who is sexually pressuring you. Tell an acquaintance or your partner what you want or don't want and stick with your decision. Regardless, there must always be active consent on both sides. Consent to one thing does not imply another. Trust your instincts. If you feel you're being pressured into unwanted sex, you probably are. If you feel uncomfortable or threatened around an acquaintance or your partner, get out of the situation immediately. If you misread someone's signals, you can always explain later. Respond physically. Even clear communication is not always effective. Some people simply don't listen or don't care. If either person is intoxicated or high, it may complicate the situation. However, it is not an excuse for someone to commit sexual assault. If someone is assaulting you and not responding to your objections, you have the right to respond physically or to physically defend yourself if you feel you need to do so. If possible, push the person away, scream "no," and say that you consider what the person is doing to be rape. It is understandable that most people instinctively do not respond forcefully to people they know. It is not your fault if you find that you are unable to do so. When in public, be alert of your surroundings and the people around you. Stay in well-lit areas. Walk confidently at a steady pace on the side of the street facing traffic. Walk close to the curb. Avoid doorways, bushes, and alleys. If you are in trouble, attract help any way you can. Scream, yell for help, or yell fire. If you feel you're being followed, walk into a store or knock on a house door. If your state allows it, carry pepper spray, pocket knife, taser, or a Gerber tool. I hope the above has opened your eyes on ways you can use to empower and protect yourself, lovelies. It's amazing that justice is being served on these menacing men mentioned early on in the podcast. Although they are answering for the ills that they have caused many, there is still a lot more individuals that are not being brought to justice due to corruption in entertainment spaces and also due to victims that still remain shameful even though it's not their fault. I encourage you all to help others speak up. Aside from the physical trauma, the emotional scarring can be detrimental, especially in child victims. These can include, but not limited to, denial, learned helplessness, xenophobia, anger, self-blame, mood swings, and difficulty trusting people. Sexual assault increases an individual's risk of developing psychopathologies. It is most strongly related to the development of suicidal and PTSD-related disorders, as well as the development of bipolar and obsessive-compulsive disorders. Experiencing sexual assault can increase the risk of developing anxiety disorders, depression, eating disorders, and other psychopathologies. Parents, be mindful. Trust no one. Usually, assault starts with close relatives. For my viewers, if you know anyone who needs help, help them before it's too late. Thank you all for tuning in to episode 8, and if this video has left a positive impact or enlightened you in any way, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.